Hello, this is Jay, and I'm here with my mother, Mary, and we're in her house in Buell Lane. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Jay.
So we're going to have a little bit of a conversation now on the family on your mother's side.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
Let's start with your mother's name and then her sister's names.
My mother's name is Virginia Cox, and her sisters were twins, unidentical twins, Roz and Ray.
Right. Now, I remember Aunt Roz coming to Bellport for Thanksgivings when I was very young, and her husband was Uncle Frank.
Yes,
Right?
yes, yes.
Can you tell me about that?
They were just wonderful. Aunt Roz was such a beautiful looking woman and the sweetest woman in the world. And they had a child, Pete.
My cousin Pete, right?
Cousin Pete. And when I was little, I was called Sister. But he couldn't say S's, so he would say, "Hi, her."
Well, he's probably 15 years younger than you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So he would have been
10
very
years.
young.
Yeah, yeah, it was darling. Yeah, I really dearly loved them. And they lived on a boat. He loved being on the sea for half a year. And it was a boat that
Meaning like every year, half of the year.
every
was on a
year,
boat.
half of the year, and the other half they'd be in their house on, can't remember where it was, somewhere on Long Island. And his boat it was all wood, beautiful, beautiful, small boat, but just beautiful in every detail.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would go out on that and have a lovely time.
Do you recall where it was docked when they lived on
I
it?
think it was Port Jefferson
Oh, up in Port Jeff.
Washington. I think
But
in
the North
Port
Shore.
Jeff. Yeah.
And they would live there in the summer, not the winter.
That's right. Well, in the summer they'd live on the boat and they'd go all over. I mean, they could come out to East Hampton, or they wouldn't go to England or, but they'd chug around wherever they wanted to. And his job had been, I don't know what you call it, throwing compasses or something.
I remember it's to align the compasses. It's not just a matter of demagnetizing them, but on an iron ship, then iron is magnetic. It's paramagnetic, and so the hull would literally throw the compass off, and in fact the ribs of the hull has more magnetism than the thinner sheath of the hull. So I don't know how it's done, but it's very old school and manual, but they can trim the compass to point to magnetic north, even in the presence of the hull.
And I think before they came into New York Harbor, he would go out and climb up on these boats somehow and adjust the compass or whatever you call it, and that was his job.
Well, I think that before GPS, which is only about 20 years old, maybe even less, that was critically important, because without a GPS system, you really are looking at magnetic north.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Aunt Roz was just a love of our lives, really. Back in those days, of course, many women didn't work. And so she was with Pete. And they lived in a wonderful house that had been, I think, a barn. We'll have to ask Pete about that. But it had a loft, I know. And it was very strange and wonderful.
Right, and then Cousin Pete went into the Merchant Marine.
Yes. And he went all over on that. And I don't know how many years he was in it, but quite a while until he retired. Yeah. And he retired in Lubec, Maine, which is the last town, I think, before you get to Canada.
And it's the easternmost point in the U.S.
And they have 25 feet tides, something like that.
I recall
daily.
that they have high tides due to the channeling up there.
Super high tides.
That's crazy.
Twice a day, the way
I think
tides will
there'd be a lot
do.
of erosion with that.
Yeah, yeah. And so he started living there and set up, or because he was an engineer, he took over a sardine factory, which was big in those days. And the sardine boats would come in, and this little village the bells would ring, and the women who came down to pack the sardines in the little cans that they did just would arrive because the bell rang.
Right.
And
pack away until it's done.
Yeah. And then I think some big company or something took over.
I remember that.
And then there weren't many sardines left or
Well,
something.
overfishing, I mean, it's not just sardines.
Yeah. And then, but Pete has his own boat. And he's
built his own
He's
boat.
built his own boat. And before that, I'm going to tell a little story because Pete called me up one day and said, "What kind of car did he buy?"
Did he buy a BMW, something like this?
Yeah,
which was very
it called a Boomer or something?
I don't know.
Mary, I bought a Boomer or something like that.
A Beamer.
A Beamer, that's right. Mary, I bought a Beamer. Like it was his midlife crisis or something. It wasn't hooray. It was Mary, I bought a Beamer.
Rather uncharacteristic, but I was so happy
That's right.
that he did so nonetheless.
That's right. Yeah. So he has quite a life up there.
And I remember that he would drive down, and that's a long drive, in his Jeep to Belport for Thanksgivings back in the day.
That's right. He would. Yeah.
It was so wonderful when he came.
You and Diana have been up there, right? Have you?
John and
Amy, and he
his
took
family.
the grandchildren out on his boat and let them steer it.
And they loved it, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So that's Roz and Frank and Pete. And then there's Ray, and her husband was Kern. Ray and Kern, I can't remember.
No, I don't remember them at all, did I?
Well, as I say, they lived in Johannesburg.
Oh, yes.
During the war, and I don't know if they ever came back. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know
when
much
was the last time you saw her?
I can't imagine. Now that I have to think about it, I don't remember.
Like way outside of memory.
Yeah, because Aunt Roz is right there in the front of my mind. But
Yeah, mine too.
Not Aunt Ray.
Well, actually, Cousin Pete will have some information on her because
Yes.
she is his aunt.
Right. And Mom and her sisters used to go up with their parents to a little bit beyond Truro on Cape Cod to the Coast Guard station, I mean, right around there. And my grandfather taught my brother the alphabet, writing it in the sand, only Johnny was sitting opposite him.
He learned to write it upside down.
Yeah, he did.
How funny is that?
Right. And I also remember they're saying they got a bolt of lightning. What's it called?
Yeah, you've told me about this. I've never seen it. Yeah. We should Google it or YouTube it. It's a fireball of lightning.
Yeah, came through their house. Yeah.
And I thought it was out here.
No. It was up in Cape Cod.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is some sort of strange effect where, I mean, something must have caught on fire because it can't be lightning, but something rolled through their house that was highly electric.
Yeah, right. And they saw it.
Did they open the front door, then open the back door? Just let it roll through.
Yeah. Out you go.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to add on your mother's side, Mom?
Oh, well, shall I talk about her father a little bit?
Yes.
Her father was Albert Skank Cox, whose family came from Holland or Belgium or Netherlands, whatever those places are called. And his father lived in Flemington, which is kind of,
Where is that?
I think it's in New Jersey.
I see.
Anyway, he was a banker, a very successful banker. And
Back in the day when you could be a successful banker.
that's right. And his early job, and I don't know whether it was his later job too, was to go around the United States and find good investments. And it was a day and time where men had to wear their very good suits, which unfortunately were made of wool.
Yeah. Ooh.
And to this day, I remember him saying he got to somebody had invited him to their house, and he sat on the porch, and he said there was a breeze. That was such a...
I'm sure he remembered that
I
well.
know. That was about all I ever... And then I also heard, but I don't know whether it's true, that he saw his wife, Myrtle, through the window of the bank. She was working at another place, and he saw her and decided, he said, that's the woman I'm going to marry, or something.
Well, that's the way it was done.
Something
back
like
then,
that. Yeah, and when they were married, they lived on 114th Street. My mother was born in an apartment house that is still there.
Yeah.
And
you showed
yes.
me, in fact.
Yeah.
Because when you were taking the jitney back or something like this, we looked it up, and you said, no, that's exactly right. It's in the upper west or upper east?
East side.
Right.
Yes.
It's a red brick building. And
Yes.
it's on Google Street View.
Yep.
We should get the coordinates for that.
Right, right. And that's where she was born. Boy, the good old days.
Yes.
Yay. So anyway, my grandparents were just a lot of fun. And they when they gave up New York, I guess, they bought a house in Sag Harbor.
Oh, really?
And lived out here for a while and had wine vines, whatever you call them. I mean, just for looks.
And whenabouts did they pass away?
Well, Dada passed away long before Grandma did, and I don't really know. Grandma probably in 1960.
Yeah,
I never knew her, but...
And are they at Cooper Lane?
I don't know. I don't know where they're buried. I'll have to look that up, too.
It may come to you. And also there are resources these days online.
Oh, yeah, I know. No, I'm pretty sure they're not here.
Okay.
Because Dada would have been buried before. And they lived in Summit, New Jersey for years.
Yes.
That's where the girls all grew up.
Yeah.
They had a little donkey cart, and they used to ride the donkey cart with the girls.
Was the donkey named Platero?
Yeah, yes, it was, as a matter of fact. Yes.
Anything else to add, Mom?
Well, that's all I can think of now. There'll probably be more dribbling out of my brain, but that's it for now.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, talk to you again. Bye, guys.
Talk to you later. Bye, tubers.